Today is the 1 year anniversary of me launching the Socket podcast. I woke up this morning and I looked at my calendar on my phone to see what the heck I had to do today, because every day is a new adventure in my life. I never know if I'm going to the office, if I'm staying home and taping a podcast, if I have meetings outside of the office. So I like that I get to shake it up each day and every day is a little different. Anyway, I opened it up and I see that it's the 1 year anniversary. And I had just a couple of feelings about that. Number one, I feel really proud of myself. I really pushed myself outside of my current limits, especially with technology, trying to figure out my computer and the camera and Zoom and taping on this computer and then finding which file to load it up to YouTube, to then figure out Buzzsprout and trying to load it into podcast entities like Apple and Spotify. Now, some of those things I still outsource, but for the most part, I do the back end all the way up to the loading it up and sending it out to podcast entities all by myself. And sometimes things work beautifully and sometimes things don't. But I've learned to just go with the flow. I've taped about 85 podcasts this year. And I have some of the most amazing podcasts with women I love, just influential leaders in our community. But you don't need to be from Naperville to learn from them. They're just incredible human beings with incredible backstories. And the things that they have shared on the Socket podcast are sure to inspire you, kind of poke you in the butt, be like, I could do that a different way, or I need to move forward with my dream, or wherever you are in life. So I just wanted to mark down a couple of things that I've learned in the past year of doing this podcast. Number one, doing 2 podcasts a week catches up with you sometimes. As I mentioned on the last podcast I taped about 2 weeks ago, I got a little bit behind. And at the end of summer, I just was like, I have so much going on at the practice. We're doing this remodeling. We're doing a big credentialing process with our billing. And that is taking up so much of my time. For the branch, we've started doing in-person events again, and that always keeps me busy. Jason and I running, managing new members and requests and emails and messages and approving all of the posts. So that's always kind of a full-time job every day. And at the end of the day, I just didn't have enough energy to squeeze in trying to tape a podcast and trying to come up with something interesting. I'm not going to tape a podcast if at the end of the day, I don't feel like what I'm sharing is valuable to you, because then you're going to listen and be like, well, that sucked. There was one podcast I taped and Jason was like, how'd it go? I'm like, nah, it was kind of dumb. Like it wasn't that good, but it is what it is. Every once in a while, what you say is not going to be perfect. So that's another thing I've learned: perfection. Perfection is something that is so rampant in society, where people become paralyzed if what they're putting out isn't perfect. Like today, I'm working on my lighting. My one computer stopped working, the camera in it stopped working, and then I had an external camera, and now I'm using a different computer, trying to figure out the lighting. And I have these lights, but if I put them too close to make it bright enough, there's a glare in my glasses. And I have the up and down switch of my overhead lights. And at the end of the day, I don't have a professional studio. I have an awesome kick-ass studio space in my basement that I love. And I love my background, but I just don't have the lighting down. Okay, well, if I was going to get all caught up on that, I wouldn't have 85 podcast episodes already taped. So I would just challenge you, where in your life are you so worried about perfection that you're not even taking a step forward? Something to think about. Feedback, man, I have just loved getting messages from people. They listen to the podcast and I'll get a private message or an email or a text from someone I might know. And they say what the podcast has meant to them. Some people have shared, they're like, I feel like you literally taped this podcast just for me because it's exactly where I am. And it helped me see things in a different way. And that will always be the number one thing that keeps me going and coming down to my studio and rambling on into this microphone and putting out these podcasts. So I appreciate it. It means more to me than you know. I just love to know that something that I'm able to share can connect with one of you or many of you and bring you to a different place in your life. because again, that's the whole point of doing a podcast, is trying to help people. I have pretty awesome friends. I think I've interviewed over 30 of my female friends in the area. And I just, you put them all together and they're eclectic. They're all different. They all come from different backgrounds. They all have different careers. They all have different dreams. They all have different pain points in their lives. They've all had different things they've had to overcome. And at the end of the day, I'm really proud of the community that I get to be a part of, and the friendships that I've made over the last 22 years of living in the Naperville area. Makes me really happy. And, you know, some of them I only talk to twice a year. Some of them I might connect with every week, but it's not the quantity of it that matters. The quality of the people that I get to spend my life with is pretty dynamic. And I think that's in part due to the fact that I'm pretty open about the struggles I go through, right? If you're a listener, you know how much I share about myself. And I think people appreciate that. I think people think, all right, she's real. You're not getting any bullshit, right? I try to keep a low ego profile, if that's a certain thing. I try to be caring about my friends. I try to be open in communication. If we have a struggle or a conflict or something between us, I just want to talk directly about it. And I think at the end of the day, that creates a foundation of friendship that's really hard to break down. And at the end of the day, if that friendship breaks down, then that friendship wasn't meant to go on any further. And that's something that I've learned to accept over the years, and especially in the last couple of years. Patience. Ooh, yeah. So technology, like I said, I always say technology is amazing until it's not. Right? We all want our phones to be able to text someone in 2 seconds. We all want to be able to download something quickly. We all want to be able to get on a certain website without that little circle, scrolling around and around and around. And in today's technology world, we expect that now, right? If that circle goes like more than 3 times, you're like, come on. And really, you've been waiting like 2.3 seconds. So taking a breather and realizing that sometimes technology is not going to work. And that's okay. And we'll get it figured out. And it's not a life or death situation. So patience is a virtue. They say that for a reason. And it's one of the harder virtues, I think, to get a handle on, especially for me. I come back to mindset, right? The theme of almost every podcast I've taped, at least an underlying message, is you control how you think about what is happening in your life. You control your drive. You control how long you think about something and let it spin around in your head that's negative. You get to control your mind space. I always have a caveat that I understand there are mental health issues. I understand that there are things that make it not as simple as I'm saying. But for so many of us, if we get our mind going in the right direction, we can do whatever we freaking want to do. If we, create a new wellness plan, we know we can do it, but we talk ourselves out of it, right? Some of those underlying beliefs, those subconscious beliefs, which I've talked about multiple times throughout this past year, of, do you believe you deserve it? Do you believe, for me, right? Do I believe that I am a healthy, vibrant, energetic person? Or do I believe I'm fat and lazy? Because throughout my life, I've believed that I'm fat and lazy. And if that subconscious belief just is locked in too hard, no matter what you do from an action standpoint, no matter what you do from a habit standpoint, ultimately you'll go back to those old ways, because internally you believe you're fat and lazy, and you are eventually going to show the world that you are fat and lazy. Now that's my struggle, right? Other people might struggle with feeling confident in their work, or confident in their friendships, or in their relationships, or in just themselves. But if we don't believe we deserve a healthy relationship, if we don't believe we deserve a place at that corporate board table, if we don't believe we deserve to love ourselves or to have value, all of those things will turn into other issues in our life. Another thing that's a common thread throughout my whole life is kindness. especially in today's age, there's so many things to be on opposite sides about. And it leaves me with just kind of a pit in my stomach on an ongoing basis. I try not to focus on the pit, but at the end of the day, there are so many things that people can be, all the way over here and all the way over here. And it's almost like there's no common ground. And I'm a big fan of meeting in the middle, trying to have those tough conversations, trying to be like, that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. And so often that doesn't work or doesn't happen. But kindness can be at the core of everything you do. And at the end of the day, if you are with someone who is unwilling to compromise or unwilling to have a conversation about a tough thing, then you can show them kindness, you can be respectful, and then you can set a boundary that you either need to get yourself out of that conversation or get yourself out of that relationship, whatever that relationship may be. So those are a couple of things that I've learned throughout this year. I'm excited to go into year 2 and see who else I can interview. I need to tape a few more so that I can get them up for you to listen to. I know today I'm excited. Right after this, I'm taping with my friend Claudia Gallo, who is an attorney, and we are going to talk about things you need to do if you're preparing to get divorced, whether it's your choice or it's someone else's choice. And that doesn't sound like a super fun topic, but I think back to my divorce, which was 13 years ago, and I wish I had had so much more knowledge. Knowledge is power. So if you're in that really tough space of getting ready to go through a divorce, this topic I think is going to be very helpful. So you can get your ducks in a row. You can feel confident that you know what you need to know, because I certainly didn't know what I needed to know. And I wish I did. So hopefully Claudia will be able to shed some light on all of those things. As always, if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can reach me at Cathy@simplysocket.com. And our website is www.simplysocket.com. Have a great day. And thank you for tuning in to the Socket Podcast. I appreciate you being here and being a part of what I'm sharing. Have a great day.